Hi and welcome back for chapter 6 of Creature Teacher by Sam Watkins. Now in the last chapter the children worked out that Mr. Hyde, when Mr. Hyde disappeared, actually he became the creature, and they managed to catch him in Barnaby's bag. And what they've got to do now is try and make sure that Mrs. Blunt doesn't find out. So rule 6. Always be quiet in the presence of the head teacher, except be quiet has been crossed out and instead it says always burp in the presence of the head teacher. You have 3 seconds to return to your seats. 1, 2. Jake slid into his seat just in time. Mrs. Blunt's piercing eyes swept the class. They fell on Nora. Nora Newton, where's your teacher? He went to the storeroom, miss. I shall wait then, said the head teacher, crossing her arms. She suspects something, Jake thought. Mrs. Blunt started to stalk around the classroom, scrutinising the work on the walls. Jake shot upright. The school rules poster. Mrs. Blunt would see the purple moustache and eyebrows. He raced to the back of the room, reaching the poster seconds before Mrs. Blunt. What are you doing, boy? She snapped. It's a lovely day, isn't it? Blurted Jake. Mrs. Blunt glared at him. No, it is not. Now sit down before I give you a sad face. Nora ran over and stood next to him. Miss, do you want to see my slug collection? Mrs. Blunt looked ready to implode. Back to your seats this instant, unless you want to work on the rockery after school. Nora threw Jake an agonised look. If they moved, she would see the poster. If they didn't... Burp! Jake gasped. The burp had come from Barnaby's bag. Mrs. Blunt's eyebrows shot up. Barnaby McCrum, she roared. Barnaby looked huffy. It wasn't... He stopped. Everyone glared at him. He shoved his bag under the table with his foot. It wasn't my loudest burp, miss. He opened his mouth and burped. A truly magnificent burp. In 3 strides, Mrs. Blunt was at the front of the classroom. Barnaby McCrum, you've earned yourself an hour's work after school on the rockery. Class 5B, when Mr. Hyde returns, please inform him that I expect your performance tomorrow night to be the best in school. Otherwise... She frog-marched Barnaby out of the classroom. Everyone started talking. Carl thumped Jake on the back. I'd forgotten about the poster. Never mind the poster. Where's Barnaby's bag? Jake asked anxiously. Alexis ran to Barnaby's desk. Here. She pulled it out. Do you really think that thing is Mr. Hyde? An excited crowd gathered around Alexis. She unzipped the bag a tiny bit and peered inside. A furry arm shot out and grabbed her nose. She zipped it up again hurriedly. You'll scare him. Give him to me. Nora pushed her way through the crowd of classmates and grabbed the bag. There, she soothed it. Now we need to find out what he eats. Maybe slugs, said Carl slyly. Everyone roared. Carl! Nora screeched. If they start yelling, Mrs. Blunt will be back, thought Jake. He ran to Mr. Hyde's desk and rapped loudly. Everyone looked at him. Shut up and listen, everyone. This is important. No grown-ups can know about Mr. Hyde turning into a creature, and no one from any other class. This has to be our secret. Otherwise, Mr. Hyde will be sacked. And we'll get another Mr. Savage, added Woodstock. There was a chorus of groans. Nora stood up. Everyone must swear an oath. At that moment, the bell rang for the end of school. There was a stampede for the door. Wait, you haven't sworn, Nora pleaded, but it was no good. Soon the only ones left were Jake, Nora, Woodstock, Carl and Alexis. Now what? Asked Alexis. Woodstock clapped his hands. Let's take him to your tree house, Nora. Jake's eyes widened. You've got a tree house? Nora nodded. Yes, but it's top secret, so you mustn't tell anyone. Only Woodstock, Carl and Alexis know about it. And now you. OK, we'll take him there. I can't. I've got football practice, said Alexis. Carl jumped up. And I've got a guitar lesson. Sorry, got to go. He ran off. Jake picked up the bag with Creature in and headed out of the classroom with Nora and Woodstock. As they walked past the rockery, they saw Barnaby struggling under the weight of a huge rock. Jake stopped, feeling bad. Barnaby, he called. Barnaby threw his rock down, wiping sweat from his forehead. That was a great burp, said Jake. Sorry you got in trouble for it. Barnaby shrugged. Whatever. Can I have my bag? Jake shook his head. The creature's still in there. I'll take him home. Barnaby stretched out a hand. Jake pulled it away. No, we're taking him to... And he remembered he wasn't supposed to mention the tree house. Oh, come on, it's my bag. Sorry, Barnaby. Hey, Jake, Woodstock yelled. Jake looked around. Nora and Woodstock were standing outside one of the windows to the main hall waving at him. He ran over. What? What is it? Woodstock pointed to the window. In there. Jake peered in. His eyes nearly popped out. Amelia was prancing around the stage wearing a black leotard, pink fluffy head boppers and pink sheets attached to her arms. A ragged line of pupils trailed, also in costume. A tinny song piped over the speakers. Tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la, come one and all to the butterfly ball. There she is. Jake realised that they were supposed to be insects. Amelia was presumably a butterfly. Her two friends were smug-looking bees. He also identified a sulky spider, a caterpillar made of 4 pupils under a sheet, and several confused ants who kept tripping over each other. They're terrible, whispered Nora gleefully. Jake nodded, but hang on. Uh-oh, he pointed. Just in front of the stage sat Mrs. Blunt. Fabulous fluttering, Amelia, she called. Ants, stay in line, please. The friends turned and started walking slowly out of the gate. That does it, said Woodstock gloomily. Mrs. Blunt will think they're brilliant, since she's helping them practice. We've got to be the best at the Founders' celebration, said Nora, or she'll get rid of Mr. Hyde. They looked at the bag in silence. She'll definitely get rid of him if he's a creature, said Jake. Come on, let's get him to the treehouse, and then we'll have to try and get him to change back. And that is the end of chapter 6. So rule 7, or chapter 7 is rule 7. Remember to always go under the fallen tree, except under's been crossed out and it says over. So it says remember to always go over the fallen tree. See you next time for chapter 7.